Attention.
How's it going, Exiles? My name is Ralph, and today I want to talk about Divination Cards. Divination Cards came out in the Awakening expansion. The Highgate supporters got to design them instead of a unique. Basically, what they're supposed to be is, well, what they are is a set of cards that you farm up and then you trade them in, and then you get the item listed on the card. When I heard about this, I was super excited. I thought this was going to be a huge feature in the game. I thought Self-Found was going to get some real life. I thought the farming capability was going to be amazing. And here we are now. Ascendancy is coming out kind of soon. And Divination Cards. Yup. There's really not much to say about them. They haven't done much good for the game, in my opinion, which I'm going to explain. I remember my first experiences with them, my first attempt of engaging in the situation, engaging in the system, was with the Dark Mage card. The 6-link staff, item level 55, great for your crafting your +3s in the Chamber of Sins level 2. I was playing like a low-life SRS summoner for Dark Shrines, and I was like, alright, I'll go there. I'll hit up this card. So I farmed Chamber of Sins. 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 It was like 4 hours or something like that. I didn't get a single card. I didn't get a single one. It was a huge slap in the face. Like, I spent all my time here. It's like, could have been in Dried Light, getting better XP, getting better item level gear, getting more gear. Could have been in low-level maps, Could have started building a map pool. Anything else. It felt so bad to waste my time on this stupid card. And you go to Tropical Island, you get that 5-link staff. I've rolled some corrupted maps where I've gotten the entire 5-link staff in one go. And I get it. It's a 6-link. It's supposed to be very rare, but when I was farming it, I just had this so bleak. It was like, nope, nothing. Didn't get any reward. I just did it. Waste of my time. Just gone. So I pretty much, after that, ignored the system as much as possible. Divination cards, didn't engage with them, didn't really see the point in them. It didn't really seem to offer much. I looked up, I remember the level 4 corrupted Enlighten. I checked PoE trade all the time, never saw one. Never saw one. I was like, people aren't finding these things, they're too rare. I was like, this is a pretty stupid system. And so time goes on, here we are now. I was playing some Talisman the other day, looking through my stash, and I get to my my RMT stash, my Divination card space, where all those just sit and take up space, my RMT space, and I noticed, like, all my sets were just kind of a couple cards, like and I would love a Wind Whipper, but it's like one Wind Whipper card, one Voltaxic card, two Voltaxic cards, something like that. One corrupted Voltaxic card, 3 the Chains That Bind, a couple for that 6-link Coronal Maul, a couple for the 6-link Vault Regalia, a couple, oh wow, the items on those cards are pretty cool, but then, but there's just a couple pieces. Like, I don't have the full set, and even if I were to get the full set, to set aside time to go farm it there would be painful. And I was really thinking about this, and I was like, why do I just have all these pieces of random cards that I'm not going to finish, that seem like cool items, and then when I tried to farm the Dark Mage, when I tried for 4 hours, I couldn't get one. And I realized it's because all of these Divination cards are restricted to maps. Most of them, anyway. They're restricted to maps, so you don't realize when you get them. You just play maps. You just grind maps. You grind maps. You grind maps. You roll high quantity. You get the Divination cards. You don't realize it. You're not thinking about it. You're just getting them and slapping them in your stash. Getting them and slapping them in your stash. Like, the whole problem with that is there's a huge flaw with this. The Divination card system, when it first came out, it sounds like a system for Self-Found players, because you can take items and break them up into pieces, and then get each piece one by one. You won't have to get this huge burst of luck. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, though, with putting them in maps, assigning them to maps. It seems like some of the rarer cards are in rarer maps, which just doesn't make sense, because maps are an RNG system. Like, let's say you wanted to farm the Coral Maul that drops in Arsenal. how are you going to get an arsenal? You're going to buy one? Well, there's the self-found. You had to go buy it. That doesn't feel very good. I think most people can agree, although it is cool to find a good deal when trading, although it is cool to, like, feel like you snagged an item, you know, that was like, oh, wow, that was an awesome item I just found on PoE trade, and I got it for such a good deal. It fits perfectly my build. Although that feels cool, it is cooler to do it yourself. It's cooler to be in-game playing Path of Exile. That should be the number one goal for GG. We want players playing our game, not trading, not indexing, not doing all this nonsense. And having maps themselves, it's an RNG system. So you put divination cards inside that, it's an RNG inside of an RNG. It's actually just more RNG. It's a terrible idea. It doesn't work. You can't. The divination cards have failed in that way. Like, if you wanted to farm a Voltaxic, the card for it, well, first you have to find the map, and then you have to do the map, and then you have to get the card in the map. And if you do the map and then you don't get another map in that map, well, you have to go buy another one, or we have to keep farming maps. There's no way to systematically farm it. Then it's actually funny. I went to the Awakening launch page, and it says straight up, divination cards allow players to systematically work their way to the acquisition of desirable items without having to rely on random chance alone. It's hilarious. It's hilarious that it says that, because it actually is entirely based on chance. It's the chance of the map that you have to get, and the chance that you have to get the card inside the map. So then what happens? What do people do with all these cards sitting in their stash? Just like, oh, I have a couple of this, couple of that. It's like, well, I don't really care about Voltaxic. I don't really care about these cards, so what do you do? Slap it on PoE trade, try to sell it, get rid of it. Then what happens? Then, there's going to be a guy who's collecting the cards, who can't maybe pay for it all at once, can't pay for the item that's listed on the card all at once, so instead they're going to buy the card over time. That's cool, I guess, for people who don't just have Exalteds laying around. But, like, then, when they get all their cards over time, and they make the item, then they have the item, that's great. But at the same time, people are just finding the item. At the same time of divination cards dropping for Voltaxics and Wind Rippers, I know Voltaxic's not really a good a good example. It kind of is with the chaos buffs and the poison buffs. But you have those dropping at the same time of divination cards. If you've noticed, items have gone down in price quite a bit, a sizable bit. You have people finding the divination cards for these items, and then you have people also finding the items, and then you just have an inflation, an influx, also discouraging self-found, because, why would I farm for this if I could just buy it quite cheaply? And it's seriously going down. Like, you would have never seen as many Vol's Devotions as you see now. People still put them up for crazy expensive prices, but because the system is entirely incidental, the Brittle Emperor drops off Vol. Who's farming Dried Lake? Honestly, if you're a Highgate supporter out there and if you want to farm your item, put it in Dried Lake. Put your divination card in Dried Lake, because everyone farms in Dried Lake. It only makes sense. It's an entirely incidental system. It's not an objective. It doesn't provide you with an alternate endgame like it could. It could be better. It doesn't incentivize you to do anything different. It doesn't really change the gameplay. All it does is inflate the economy and force more of these items into the economy, which only makes it more of a benefit for people who trade. And I could get into all this and all that. I'd love to make a video about trade and versus self-found and immersion and all this, but seriously, it feels better to find an item. One of the coolest things that ever happened to me was I was actually trying to farm the divination card for the axe that drops from Kaum's area, and I killed Kaum, didn't get it. I was like, okay, I'll go back there, do one more run. I killed Kaum, and then Kaum's heart dropped off of Kaum in Merciless, and I was like, what? Like, crazy cool. First one I ever found. I was like, I'm gonna make an RF build, it's gonna suck or whatever, it's just cool to have the item. And it was like so role-playing and so immersive, like I found it off the boss itself. Like, that was cool. That was, like, it was nice not having to buy one. And then I made a character. Like, that's what divination cards should do. They should give us that sort of, like, immersion in the zones and give us an actual systematic way to farm them. Now, right now, they don't do that. They definitely don't. I haven't heard of anyone arguing that they've achieved the goal, that they're actually fun and engaging. They're kind of just there. With the exception of a couple, I think the Flores Gift, which drops in Trop Cloud, I think that one's okay because it kind of serves a purpose. It's kind of cool. It's kind of engaging. It gives you an intro level into mapping because crafting staffs is already kind of weird. So it's like, it's not that harmful. Give them a 5-link staff. I think it drops a little bit too frequently, but even so, it's restricted to Tropical Island. So if you don't have Tropical Islands, you gotta go hit up the PoE.trade, which doesn't always feel too good. It's not so bad though because it's a tier 1. It's a tier 1 map, so there's that. Also, I think Jack in the Box is a pretty cool card because it's kind of just inflates the rate of uniques. If you hit up docks, if you're doing docks, you get a random unique. I've seen some really cool videos of people getting like, old legacy items, past league items and stuff like that, and that's awesome. I thought that was a cool card. I don't see anything wrong with it, but still, I think the system needs to be worked on. Now, I have a couple ideas. First of all, I don't see why they can't just take the amount of cards that drop in a set and multiply it, just by a huge number. And I remember way back when there was a thing about Chris Wilson or whoever was posting it. They were talking about how they wanted divination cards to be meaningful when they dropped, and that's why they didn't want to have such a large amount in a set. And I mean, meaningful, I couldn't even find one. I couldn't even find a Dark Mage card. I would rather, and I mean, I don't know, the whole system seemed to be that you wouldn't have to do this whole, like, oh, I hope I get it. Like, we have Exalted Orbs, we have Mirrors, we have rare items, we have stuff like that. We need reliability. We need something to reliably farm items, and divination cards could and should have been that system. Like, I would rather have Dark Mage, the 6-link staff. I would rather have it be like a set of 40 cards, and I mean, I would rather get one. Would you rather get a card every 1 hour or a card every like 7 hours? Think about it. I mean, if you're just like logging in for an hour, play a little bit, get a card, and you just do that forever for players who can't play as much, like, at least you get a sense of progress. I mean, I don't want fixed drop rates or anything like that. I understand RNG is RNG, but still, there's gotta be a spot in the middle. Like, these things shouldn't be dropping like Wisdom Scrolls, but they shouldn't be dropping like Exalteds either. I don't think so. We have that functionality in the game, that excitement from other items. When you see a Callum's Heart drop, or when you see, a 6-link staff drop, you freak out. The whole point of divination cards is that you can do it reliably. You can feel the sense of progression. I remember when I was working on my 6-link, I couldn't get one for so long, and I was farming up fusings, just fusings, and I was trying to get 1500. I was going to do the fixed craft at the bench for a Marici, and every fusing that dropped, I was excited. Every fusing step closer to my goal, I was excited. Even though it's 1 out of 1500, it still gave me, I was excited. I was on the road. It was actually ironic. On the way to trying to get that 1500 fusings, I tried to farm Lucky Connections. Never dropped. It just never drops. I rolled the highest quantity peers, the highest quantity whatevers. It doesn't drop. It's so stupid. It's like that card. I mean, and all these cards that are like, 2 out of 2, 48 fusings. It's like, why would you make a currency card that makes, it's like a rarer version of the currency you want? It doesn't allow you to reliably farm it at all. So honestly, I want to see I think there should be more cards in the sets, and I can't see a reason for that negatively impacting the game. Interestingly enough, on the announcement page of Divination Cards, the last sentence, or the second to last sentence, confused me, because I wasn't sure if this was a typo, if this was a different plan, but it says, the rarity and power of the item received determines how many cards are required in trade. Now that's interesting. That sounds like in the original iteration or idea, or maybe there was just a misconception when typing this post. I mean, you guys know how accurate GGG are in their websites, especially things like this. But that sounds like if the item was rarer, it would take more cards. And I was thinking about this. This is another possible solution. Let's say, you know, there's a card. Let's say the baseline was a Chaos Orb, just for simple example. One card, one Chaos Orb. It was, for some reason, that was a card. Then, let's say there'd be a stack of 50 card or something like that, and that was the Exalted Orb. And how it, like, and I mean, that would be kind of weird. That would be sort of an information giver, though, from GGG. Like, that would be a way of them showing what's more rare, like what's more rare, this or that. And they would have to kind of assess things and decide that. But it would be interesting if it's like, yeah, I farmed this rare item, and you kind of have this huge set of cards, like 51 pieces to it, or this many pieces to it, and people will be like, oh yeah, this divination set is super rare, there's this many pieces, because it sounds like the rarity corresponded to the amount in this post, in this, what it says here. That's what I got out of it, and I thought that was so interesting, because I was trying to think of solutions, because I wanted to make a video so bad, and I was like, oh, there it is right there. It seems like that's what it's saying. Also, other solutions. I know a couple streamers have said this. I mean, I just want to be able to play self-found. I want to be able to farm. I want to do some divination card farming. It sounds sick. It's so cool when you think about it, going around like different zones and sort of doing that. I've heard this idea a couple times. I can't remember I was just watching PoE streams, and the idea of like a self-found league. I think this would be good just for experimentation on GGG's end, where like they multiply the drops of currency and this and that, or such and such, and maybe they multiply the drops of divination cards. But this is kind of, doesn't really fix the problem. It just inflates it. It just kind of like says, oh, you know, and then we doubled it. That whole like simple design, because right as it stands, I think the system is extremely flawed. One idea I had, it's out there, but I think it's disappointing, because I don't count on GGG to make systems that I think are just bad. I usually have high standards, I guess. I mean, I guess we're spoiled in that way when we criticize things like this. But it's weird, because no one has really spoke out about divination cards that much. Everyone talks about trade and stuff like that. And I mean, this is part of a problem in trade, of course. And trade is kind of a problem in divination cards. But I think it'd be cool if, get this, like, you kill Malachi on Merciless, and you have to do that. It'd be a reason to finish Malachi on Merciless. Kill Malachi, and then you get a sort of adventure mode, so to speak. Now, hear me out. I don't like that. You know, that's just what we're calling it. I don't support adventure mode, but if you know what I mean. Basically, it would be a sort of leveled down version. It wouldn't be higher level than maps. It would be Act 1 through 4. It wouldn't be like it couldn't be 68 or above zone level. It would have to be like 66 or something like that, and maybe the harder zones get a higher level just for like some exciting stuff. And then divination cards could drop only in this mode. I think it'd be an exciting end game. And you know, we're gonna have the labyrinth coming out. We got maps, and then you could have this adventure mode. And this is also a way, if you had like a separate campaign mode, like a thing on top of Merciless. It wouldn't be missions. You wouldn't have to enemy at the gate and get more skill points. No, the whole map would be unlocked. It'd be adventure mode, and there'd be divination cards dropping in zones, like thematically, like Calm stuff is gonna drop in that whatever. Chevron's cards are gonna drop like from her in Act 4. And I think this would be a really cool idea, and GGG could implement past challenge leagues with this mode. With adventure mode, you could have divination cards drop, but you could also take warbands, or you could take Tempest, stuff like that, and you could put it in this game. It could have zone, like very kind of zone infiltrating, kind of like when they kind of intrude on the main gameplay. You could put it in this adventure mode, because it's so sad. You think about things like Warbands and Tempest and all the design that goes into these things. They're just out. Like Nemesis, Bloodlines, Strongbox, Shrines, they're all in the game. It seems like all these new challenge mods, they don't make it into the game, and it's really sad, because they're not building on the game anymore. It's just, oh, Xana mod. I think this adventure mode idea in PoE, because PoE has a better frame than other ARPGs, could work extremely well. Because I'll be real with you, I couldn't understand how you could defend divination cards in maps. Doesn't make sense. You're putting RNG and RNG. It doesn't offer any endgame. It doesn't change the way you play. It just makes you feel compelled to buy things. It just makes you feel like, oh, I have to do this map. It's very discouraging, honestly. I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about it. I've been thinking about it a lot, as you can tell. It'd be nice to see the system updated because when I heard it, and it seemed like I got this impression from other people too, that it seemed like it was going to be like another end game. Like, oh, I can, farm maps, or I can hunt divination cards, I can just farm XP, I can do this, I can do that. It seemed like something really cool to be able to do to complete your builds, especially for self-found players. I don't know. Leave some thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.